What up, y'all? Welcome back to Sexton Accountability. Today, I'm going to talk about the accident that changed my life forever. Okay. So, when I was a teenager, I was riding my bike downhill. I was going as fast as I could. All right. I was going really, really fast, and it was downhill. I approached a green light. Okay. So, I'm like, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep going really, really fast. I was listening to music, and it was just going about my evening. So when I approached the intersection, a car that was facing towards me was making a left unprotected turn. All right. I didn't have a light on my bicycle. So they turned, and it was perfect timing for me to T-bone the car. So they turned right in front of me. I had no time to brake. It was like the perfect timing for me to hit this car. The second that this happened, I thought to myself, damn, this is it. This is a shitty way to die. Like, I can't believe this is how I'm going to go out. Basically, what ended up happening, which was good, is that I was catapulted over the car. All right. So if I would have went under, it would have been done, most likely. So I flew in the air. And I remember vividly flying in the air and thinking, this is it. I can't believe this is it. God, I can't believe I played myself like this. I had, headphones in. I probably had a iPod Shuffle or something at the time. And I don't remember thinking this, but I know this is what happened. Basically, it was just impulse. I went like this, and I basically did a front flip. I covered my head, and that caused me to flip over. So all of the just all of my weight went down like that onto my back first. So I fractured my L5. Then I guess I went bah, and then boof, it was like a recoil or whatever. So it was hit my back, fractured my L5, hit my side, fractured my shoulder blade. All right. I came to, and I was like, damn, I'm alive. And there was a homeless dude that was standing on the side of the road, and he's like, yo, bro, are you okay? And I was like, no. And I tried to turn my body a little bit, and I passed out from the pain. The next thing I know, I wake up, and the woman that was driving the car is crying and is apologizing and saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She was rightfully scared. And I was like, hey, it's okay. I vividly remember saying, it's all right. It's not your fault. Because it really wasn't. It really wasn't. I hit the car. And yes, if I had a light, then I feel like it would have been more of her fault. But it wasn't, in my opinion. All right. So apparently they call my family. They call my dad, my mom, my sister. And then now my family is on the side of the road screaming and crying. And it's like a movie scene, all right? It's just ridiculous. So basically, I would go in and out of consciousness. And during this time, they administered intravenous pain meds, all right? So that hit me, and I was like, oh, I'm good now. I was like, I don't know. It kind of put me, I was in shock, honestly, but the opiates, they just covered up, they numbed me immediately. And I remember thinking to myself, damn, this is, I don't know, I think maybe this is what I'm supposed to feel like. I had that thought. I remember being in the ambulance and just being damn, I'm straight lit right now, bro. I'm in this ambulance. So that was a red flag right out of the gate. Cause my reaction to it was it was a weird reaction. It wasn't so much of oh yes, the pain is gone. It was more so oh shit, this is good as far as I don't know. I just felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders momentarily. And so, like I said, that was just a huge red flag right out of the gate. And anyways, so they ended up taking me to a children's hospital on accident. And this is just a side note. It's kind of a funny part of the story, but it ended up being funny because I barely fit on any of the beds. I'm 6'4". I probably was a little bit shorter at the time, but it was just kind of comical. Anyways, there's a couple of things I want to focus on when it comes to this. So first of all, it was that it wasn't just that I, had my pain treated, as I mentioned. It was that I was thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to need to continue to take whatever that was, because I felt this overwhelming relief psychologically. Like it wasn't really even a physical thing for me. Like, of course I felt like it was dilaudid. So I felt that shit super strong. But I'm saying what I was focusing on more than anything was the psychological aspect. And I don't know, I did have the thought that I would associate with like saying, oh, like this is maybe what a normal person's brain thinks like. And to me, that can be a red flag personally, but that's a whole nother story. So I get to the hospital. They call my mom and dad call my grandma. She came and checked me out. I was just in complete shock. But look, this is very interesting here. All right. So I'm in like an evaluation room after, when they bring you in an ambulance, they'll like evaluate you really quickly. They cut off all my clothes with scissors. My arms were laying out, and I have a really pointy bone right here. It's kind of hard to see. And I was way skinnier back then, so it poked out even more. And they're looking at both my arms like, we got 2 broken arms. I'm like, no, dude, like move my arm. I was like, no, it's not a broken arm. So that was funny. But anyway, so I'm in a room after that. It's not like a room that you stay in. It's like another kind of evaluation room, basically. Like before they took me in to do like full x-rays and everything. And basically a doctor came in and was like, hey, and this was after, so we did x-rays. The doctor came in and he said, hey, okay, so with this type of injury, I try to get people out of the hospital immediately. Okay. At this point, I'm not hooked up to pain meds or anything. I'm not hooked up to I don't have an IV in. All right. And he's like, let's try to stand up. And I try to stand up and I pass out from the pain. Okay. But he's very insistent. He's like, we need to get you out of here. And at the time I was like, this dude is a dick. Like, bro, I just broke my back. I just got hit by a fucking car and you're trying to be like, yo, we should get you out of here. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? My mom was like that. My grandma, everyone's just like, what the fuck is going on? All right. Because he was so insistent. He was like, let's get you out of here. Let's get you out of here. I've had people that this has happened to and we've got them out of here really quick. All right. Now that I look back on it, and this is just my speculation, this is a theory. I do believe that dude was trying to get me the fuck out of there before I got hooked up to an IV. That's what I think. I think that dude was trying to avoid me getting on a, intravenous opiate for a day or 2 or whatever. That's just my assumption, okay? Because the way that he was talking about it and stuff, looking back on it, I feel like that was the case. All right. So it's weird how perspectives can change to where people who would not enable me when I was in substance use disorder, I hated them. And now I look back on that and I'm like, dude, good looking out, bro. So that's just my assumption. I could be way off. All right. This dude could have just been a dick, but that's kind of that was my assumption. All right. So basically I ended up staying in the hospital for, I believe about 2 days. They gave me intravenous opiates with the little button, and they also were giving me benzos. All right. So they were giving me Valium and opiates. And that's when that monster was awoken, so to speak, because that was so like, they didn't give me benzos when I was in the ambulance. They just gave me opiates. But then in the hospital, when they gave me both, I was like, oh, this is the fucking ticket, dude. Like, this is the answer. This is really the answer. Because not only did my body feel numb, but it made me like forget about what had just happened. And that's what's so dangerous, in my opinion, about benzos, is that when you deal with something traumatic, it can really, like, give you some sort of relief and detachment, but that can actually hinder your ability to heal from that traumatic event, in my opinion, okay? And so basically, I was zooted in the hospital. I couldn't take a piss. They were about to have to put a catheter in, which is just like, bro. So a lot of that was just me trying to go to the bathroom, and it was terrible. All right. So basically, that was the worst part of that. And going back to the funny thing I mentioned, my feet were like pretty much hanging off of this bed. I'm in a children's hospital, and that was just funny. But just to kind of be real concise, I want to go into what happened after. All right. So basically, they gave me a prescription for 10 milligram Norcos, and they gave me a prescription for 10 milligram diazepam or Valium. All right. So opiates, benzos. And they told me to do a bed rest for at least, I believe it was 1 to 2 months recommended of like low to no activity. And so I was laying in bed for a very long time on opiates and benzos. During this time, I would basically go, I knew my mom had some straight like gas that was hidden up in a cabinet, and I would go and grab some and like take a little rip of it. And so that would just like set off the pills. And then it was like I was finding this little, this way to kind of kick off the other things that I was taking. So the thing is, to be completely honest, I did not abuse these pills. I did not abuse these. You could say that consuming cannabis on top is abusing them. I don't know. I mean, I guess technically I would say that kind of is, if you're taking something and then adding something you're not supposed to. But still, as far as like the consumption of the medication, I was not like taking a shit ton of it or anything. All right. And so the thing is, though, is when I consumed the cannabis, I realized that it gave me this sinking feeling. I would lay down and I felt like I was sinking into the bed, like falling, but in a good way. And it was like a dark abyss type shit. And I got into that abyss like periodically throughout my substance use disorder, really deep into that dark oblivion when I was nodding out and when I was almost dying at night from opiates and benzos and all the other shit I was taking. But I don't know. I just wanted to mention that was something that I noticed, and it was enticing, that I liked the oblivion. I liked the non-existence of it. And that was also a red flag. So basically, this is what inflamed my obsession with being numb, sedated, disconnected, and just, I don't know, hypnotized by these substances. I am naturally someone who is like, I move fast. I think fast. And so to have something that like dulled that down was really interesting and very enticing. The other thing I want to mention is that I'm someone I identify as being extremely sensitive. Okay. You could say empath or whatever. I think that being sensitive or having empathy is part of being human, but that is far removed from us because we live in a dehumanizing society. So it's viewed as some like special trait, but honestly, I think that that's just part of being a human. Anyways, I've always identified with that. I'm someone who has just always been in tune and aware of my feelings. And so to have opiates and benzos, the numbing and the forgetfulness, I was like, this is the answer. This is the chemical solution. All right. And just to give you an idea, this went on for years and years. I did not consistently stay on the opiates, though. I would periodically get on opiates. The main thing that I was obsessed with after this, to be completely real, was benzodiazepines. All right. I was prescribed them. I was, like I said, periodically prescribed opiates when I would go to the emergency room, and they would shoot me up and then they would give me a script. So this created this constant searching. I started doctor shopping, and this is what kicked off my substance use disorder. Okay. The thing is that I didn't have any solutions in place. This was a negative coping skill. This was a coping skill that was rooted in self-sabotage, and it wasn't working for me. So I'm someone that believes that when we are offered something that is numbing and sedating, or for some people, stimulating, it becomes very, very enticing, and we can interpret that as a solution to challenging experiences and feelings. Okay. The thing is that I found that people who have a lack of emotional regulation are more likely to try to seek refuge in substances. And those substances create impulsivity. Okay. So impulsive action. So you pair that together, and it can put someone in a position to where they are more likely to do things that compromise their values or their standards. And then that's why you see people who are just inherently beautiful, good people making terrible decisions when they're using substances, specifically abusing them. That's not always the case though. All right. I don't like to speak in these like really definitive, generalized statements. Sometimes I do on accident. So that's what kicked it off, okay? And for years I blamed my accident. I said if I didn't get hit by that car, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I always identified as being fucked. I would say I am fucked. This is terrible. I'm really fucked. Because at that time I kind of was. I was, but the thing is it's a matter of perspective. And until I was offered solutions, I just perpetuated the problem because I didn't know what I was doing. I was consciously aware that it wasn't the right thing though. And that's what I want to also, I'm going to say this and then I'll wrap up here. All right. I knew pretty quickly, like at least 6 months into seeking out opiates and benzos, that it wasn't working. But I kept doing it because I didn't see any other solution. I looked around, I looked at our world, our society, and I saw everyone out there is using something to try to deal with the negative emotions, to try to disconnect, to escape. I'm not saying that to justify it or to push aside responsibility. But this is a worldwide thing, dude. This is like something that, man, just we associate challenging emotions with being bad and, trying to avoid them. And a lot of times these underlying emotions can be masked with things like anger. All right, I'm not going to go too far into that, but basically that's my experience. Getting hit by a car, getting prescribed the opiates and the benzos, it inflamed something that was already there. And it put me in a position to where I felt like I was living the same day every day. It was mundane. It was boring. And so for me, recovery is the complete opposite of that. I appreciate the little things because I got to see what it's like being in a living hell every single day for years. It sucked. Okay. And so just to let you know what ended up happening, like really quickly, after years of this, I started to have symptoms of respiratory failure. I was taking opiates, benzos, and Ambien, which is a sleep med. You cannot take all that together. And I ended up having an intervention. Okay. So I had an intervention, and I'm going to make another video specifically talking about how I feel when it comes, like, what do I feel about interventions, and like, when are they applicable? What is the point? All that stuff. All right. So that's it for today. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're interested in my accountability consulting services, go to my website, sextonaccountability.com. And that's it. Peace.